Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. I am with Karthik Gopinath for our usual Arts Karthik hangout on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Karthik, Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Vanakkam, sir. Glad to be here again with you.
So, viewers, we have a whole slew of topics to discuss about the various Dakshin Bharat states. Though some of you said, oh, why is it South India? Why not Southern India? It could be south of India. It can be anything. The point here is most of India's press lives and only thinks about what is happening in and around Delhi. It doesn't matter. I rest my case. So we just wanted to try and show you what is happening in the southern part of India. And mostly you have to remember that the GDP of India, 60 to 70% comes from the southern states plus Maharashtra. This is where the bulk of India's productivity is. And therefore you will start seeing that, there are a lot of trends happening and so on and so forth. So let us start with Tamil Nadu. Karthik, what do you have for us?
We can start with a number of things, but first of all, I'll start with what's happening with respect to our finance minister, who's doing every other talk apart from his portfolio. So you can question him on any other stuff, he will answer you, but not the finance. So he's been running his mouth errands about a lot of people, primarily about Mr. Jaggi Vasudev. So Jaggi Vasudev, as you all know, is kind of a global person. He's more spiritual. He gives advice to people on how to lead a spiritual life, and more than that, he's contributed in awareness campaigns with respect to afforestation drives, plantation drives, and being able to rejuvenate the rivers and so on and so forth. But his most recent initiative has been of the reviving the Hindu glory and getting back the temples from the clutches of the government. So this is what he's into right now. And it so happens that DMK has a very good victory, and now they are in power. And this person, Mr. PTR, is appointed as the finance minister. So after taking oath as the finance minister, for the first 15 days, most of his time is spent on, a duel with Jaggi Vasudev. And for what? He talks about the HRNC. He talks about arresting Jaggi Vasudev very soon on various grounds, not very much disclosing which grounds he will be arrested in. But he spends most of his energy on this. He talks to the press on this. And the etiquette, he doesn't maintain the basic etiquette of addressing a person properly. You can have allegations against a person. You can even go on a mudslinging spree. But there is a decency which he never, sticks on to. So, what are the things that he says is like CAG has got Jaggi under in a scanner. CAG, the Comptroller Auditor General. First of all, Jaggi does not come under the purview of CAG. Second thing, he says, how are you sure that once the HRNC, which actually governs the temples, roughly 44,000 temples here, once the HRNC is out, how are you sure that there will be no malpractices? The basic question one has to ask here is there an external audit mechanism for HRNC? There is no external audit mechanism for HRNC. So how are you sure that things are going well right now? There are a number of instances where, acres of land are just hired or leased for 10 to 20 rupees. And people pay that. And he says that roughly 37,000 temples are not able to make 10,000 per month. This is because deliberately most of the assets of the temple are given to people for free. I mean, it is encroached upon. That's a different scenario. But they take acres of land and pay you 10, 15 rupees. And the best part is he blows his own trumpet. You should listen to his interviews. It can be annoying, irritating. He calls Jaggi Vasudev a limelight seeker. One should understand that during 2006 to 2011, when Karunanidhi was in power, anybody who wanted to organize a function, eulogizing him, praising him, he would be there first. It was the film personalities, it was the cultural personalities. Everybody could go to his place, meet him, and organize a function. So, who is the limelight seeker here? Every interview of his, Mr. PTR talks about him, his father, his grandfather. There will be nothing more in the interview. And he says, I've been here, I've been there, I've been all around the place. I can go to whichever place I want. But I chose to be a minister. Who compelled you? You chose it by your own self. And he keeps saying that, recently it so happened that I slept at 1 o'clock in the night and then woke up at 4:45, went for corona duty. There are doctors here who work more than you. You do one day's work and you complain about it. So this is highly unbecoming of a minister, the kind of language that he uses. In fact, one of his tweets recently, no matter how hard hitting the common people can be, see, the kind of language that he uses is, he says that people drink gomutra, and that is why you're not able to think. And this is the statement issued by the finance minister, the cabinet. And he says it is his grandfather who took up the issue of HRNC. Now, the important question that one needs to answer is, what was the status of this temples when his grandfather took over? How many utsavas happened? How many Vedic schools were there? How many Agama schools were there? How many Goshalas were there? How many cultural activities used to happen in those places? What was the state of the temples? Were they so dilapidated and bankrupt when your grandfather took over? Now, what is the state? And who is responsible for this? This is the $1 million question he has to answer. What about the missing temples? We can give you a list of thousands of temples which have gone missing, if only for the mismanagement of these people. And see, when coming back to the finance front, he's being appointed as the finance. So he says certain things like this. John Maynard Keynes was given Nobel Prize for economics in 1946. What nonsense is this? He died in 1946. There was no Nobel for economics until 1968. And this is a person who specializes in economics and says that JMK's got his Nobel for economics, which didn't happen. And basically, he also says that the previous government had run the state government to the brink of bankruptcy. This is a false statement. During their reign, it so happened that Arkad Veerasamy was the power minister. And you could go and jump on the power lines, because more often than not, it will not be there. Power will not be there. So when Madam Jayalalitha had taken over, they made it a point, because it was in 2011 and UPA was in power in the center. They made it a point that Environment Ministry did not give clearance for most of the projects. Coal Ministry did not give coal for most of the projects. So they didn't want to help these people to recover the power. Now we are a power surplus state. Similarly, in 2004, Madam Jayalalitha had pointed out that you have no fiscal prudence. You guys are spending like hell. And for what? You are spending for people who are working as teachers in schools. 80,000 rupees is their salary. You can't have a bloated bureaucracy. All this was mentioned by him. And before, going on to the other aspects, I want to tell you two important things which Mr. PTR had said. He keeps talking very highly of his grandfather. He says PTR Rajan, who was his grandfather. I mean, see, basically, the people from Madurai, they call him as Bangla Arasyalwadi, which simply means that you come from a really high place and you put on airs, and this arrogance is probably in genetics. So he says it is his grandfather who gave this Ayyappan Silai. Agreed, there is no denial of that. But people like Veeramani said that Ayyappan was born to two males. How is this possible? Why did you keep your silence then? Similarly, Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple, they say they had contributed hugely to the temple. But the $1 million question is, when Dravida Karagam and others were bashing these temples, at the same time, there was a guy who questioned, Madurai Meenakshi Unakebikadi Mukutti. This question was asked, where were you guys? So that is the question we are putting up to DMK. Your parent organization, DK, was all out assaulting Hindu beliefs and temples, Hindu gods and temples. Now, under what pretext are you guys trying to, trying to be the protector of these temples is the basic question. So that's the problem with our PTR, who is basically from a capitalistic mindset and is serving a party which champions socialist cause.
Viewers, like I said last week, there is not much leeway for the state finance minister to accomplish much with the GST streamlining what revenues you're going to get in. About the only thing each state government can do is open more liquor stores and try to regulate the money going into the liquor stores, close more of the Amma stores, because Amma is actually a subsidy that Jayalalitha, actually I liked that. The fact that she was kind of rocking the cradle and pinching the baby too. If you think about, TASMAC ruining people's lives, at the same time, giving food at lower prices. But at least there was an attempt to try and take the genuine people who can't afford eating food, paying for food, to go on. And Amma Unavaham had good food. I mean, I'm telling you, if you are hungry and you don't have a hotel, you could go and eat the food there. That's what I have heard. So this thing about Mr. PTR and talking about HR and C. I have done this, I have done that. Karthik, as promised, I think you and I, we will take a look at some of the big temples, scams. There are three that I can think of. Two are right in Chennai, and I'll finish it and I'll let you. Two are right in it. One is the Mylapore temple, Kapalishwara temple. The other is a Vadaparani temple. And in fact, I should also say there is a Sivan temple in Nungambakam on the Nungambakam High Road where the tank has disappeared. So
There are, I mean,
go ahead.
This allegation that if it is given back to the people, the temples are given back to the trustees, the hereditary trustees. He has this allegation that it will be taken up by the Brahmins, it will be taken up by people like Jaggi Vasudev, which is false. I'll give you an example, okay? Vayakattu Anjaneyar Koil, this temple, the hereditary trustee had the guts and the patience and the wherewithal to approach the EO, the district courts, and then finally went to the Supreme Court and got this back. So for 15 years, when it was under the government control, it had no revenue. And within 3 years, the revenue is roughly 3 crores, which is going to go back to the temple. So I'm just saying that, you don't underestimate the Hindus. You don't underestimate Hindus and bring in caste equations the moment Hindu is mentioned. There can be successful models. You can give it as pilot projects. Try with 10 temples, and I'm betting on it that all 10 will be a success. And calling Jaggi an outsider is a stupid point, basically because their patriarch, Mr. Karunanidhi, his ancestry traces back to Andhra. Iyer Ramsamy Naikar, his ancestry traces back to Kannada. He himself admits he's a Kannadiga. So this is all hate mongering by Mr. PTR. He should rectify his ways, use his degree, put it to some productive use, which is actually not going to be possible with the kind of atmosphere that is prevailing. But anyways, good luck to him for all the good things.
And also one of the retort I saw from him that somebody is equating my OCI to being a citizenship of US. First of all, I find it very funny. OCI is a card given by India to citizens outside of India. But they should have proved that they were born in India or some such. There are some restrictions. You have to follow some rules. Okay, if you are actually a citizen of India and you worked in US, you would have to have two ways. You'd have to have a work permit like H1 or J1, or you would have had to have a green card. Okay, so somebody says something and this guy replies back in the most, what should I say, the basest of languages.
Demeaning.
Yeah, demeaning.
Yeah, true.
And
Yeah,
then
true.
that's where the thing comes, like cow urine drinking thing. Mr. Finance Minister, you should go and look at how many medicines are out there in the pharmacies that use urines of various animals. If it's given in a tablet form, it's okay. So its point here is, if somebody believes that something has medicinal effects, he has every right to try and do whatever he wants. And to try and stereotype everybody is very pathetic. I wouldn't even bother putting all these things out if it was some semi-literate. But you claim to have been a PhD in finance or economics or something like that. You claim to have worked in Lehman, which is a fairly high pressure environment. It's a different matter that it went under. Maybe not your fault, or maybe it is. I don't know. But at least, one way you can, snub all these things about your citizenship is just show your passport pages. Where
Flash
did you
it.
go? Yeah, just show it. You are doing 3 press conferences every day. I'm sure you have your passport handy. You can just show out and say, okay, this is what it is. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Go ahead, Karthik.
No, one more thing is, see, the PR management by DMK to have an educated person as the finance minister is a welcome step, but they should have thought for a candidate with some composure and some empathy towards the public. This only single criteria that I've gone abroad, I've seen the world, I've lived abroad. I mean, it doesn't fall well because, see, you know how Rahul Gandhi was given a chance by Hinduja to go to top reputed universities and how he made a fool of himself. So, I mean, if you have money, going abroad and studying is not a big deal. And just because you're educated from abroad, it doesn't mean that you are a genius. In fact, I feel that many IITs in India are way better than the research institutes elsewhere. And that is why IITs are more sought after. So just because you couldn't make it here big, you wanted to go abroad and take a degree. And now that you've taken a degree, all this high-headedness about having got a degree from abroad, having worked abroad, is actually, it's actually an insult to the Tamil culture, I feel. And I'm not going to say you can marry anybody you want to. You can marry anybody you want to. That is your personal wish. But then to every time reiterate that I am from US and I can do a better job here makes Tamilians look like buffoons. So that should be avoided again. And we know that you're gone outside and you've done your part. But then it's too much. It's too much, and it's too much for us to even listen to. And that's why I've stopped listening to his interviews. And I asked my deputies to see if there is some valid point that he talks. They find it difficult as well. So that's pretty much about PTI.
Yeah, let's move on from there. How is the COVID situation in Tamil Nadu?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. See, the thing is, and that is why I wanted to talk about PTR. The first thing, it is a distraction apparatus. It is an ideological state apparatus used by them. Why should he talk about the HRNC when there is a minister for HRNC who is trying to do something actually right now? So he says that we will divulge all the details about the temples, the land records, and everything. I don't know by when. There is no deadline. So when he's doing his job, I don't know why this finance minister is running his motor mouth about the HRNC. So the question is, why is he doing it? The answer is very simple. The situation here is bad. People want all the right-wingers and ADMK to talk about PTR and not the real situation. But people have realized that, and things are, moving forward. The Kadalur incident that happened today, I had sent you a video where a woman was weeping, saying her husband's oxygen supply or ventilator was taken away by a doctor when he was surviving. And for what? And similarly, Coimbatore GH, I had shown you the pictures. If you see, it's not a GH. There are 3 to 4 patients on one single bed. It is completely engulfed with people. Similarly, the Madurai Rajaji Hospital, I had sent you the videos as well. People are running around. Okay, and the death is huge. And Tamil Nadu has this dubious distinction of being the #1 state now for having the highest number of cases reported, more than 35,000 cases. So Mr. EPS had made it a point that we were the first in terms of governance. Now, Stalin within 15 days has hit the ball out of the park. Because I'm mentioning this because most of the news channels say that first ball sixer by Stalin. First ball sixer. Yes, he's hit a sixer, and most of the people are either in deathbed or most of the people are infected, and underreporting is huge. So the situation is really bad. All the GH are struggling. And see, the problem is Mr. Stalin a few months back had said he was not sure about the efficacy of the vaccines. Now says, go get vaccinated. So his thoughts about remdesivir keeps changing. The health minister, Ma Subramanian, says that remdesivir is of no use, and he spends most of the CM fund on buying of remdesivirs. So situation is pretty bad, and I hope and pray that things fall in place again. Also, he promised that there will be no more lockdowns, but I'm sure with the way things are, there will be another lockdown.
Yeah, you have to get it under control, and that's the only way to get it under control. And viewers, I just want to again stress this. I've been saying this again and again. The characteristics of the coronavirus are not that of a normally found virus, such as SARS. 20 micron diameter versus 200 micron to 400 micron diameter. This is huge. And the you see the virus itself is morphing a little bit. That is, again, that's very, very strange. Initially, the COVID, that is the first phase, you had nails on they're called nails on the central sphere. And those are the proteins that were actually the active ones. That was what was used to come up with the vaccine and so on and so forth. People took different routes, mRNA and so on and so forth. And Covaxin is found to be very, very effective on many of the. Now, the nail shape on the head is now changed to a ball, like a mushroom. Now, that is very strange. How a virus can morph like that. So there are lots of questions being asked. Brace yourself. This is not a normal situation. If you don't have to go out of your house, please don't. Now, Karthik, the next question I wanted to ask you was, Sendil Balaji has made a statement about Karur citizens. Is it applicable only to Karur or for the whole state?
For all that I know, it's only for the district of Karur. Tell the viewers what it is all about. So this minister, Mr. Sendil Balaji, who was with ADMK and then jumped to DMK once Madam Jayalalitha had passed away. So he has been around in all the camps, and he is called as Anju Katchi Ammavasai, which means that a party popper, a party jumper. So what he promised to his people right now. And see, the worst part is this has been publicized by the media. The media says, "Wow, what a step!" Okay, and what is the promise? He says, "Don't worry, if you're dead, your cremation will be taken. Cremation expenses will be taken care of by me." So, what is the role of a member of legislative assembly? It is to make sure that people do not die. It is not to make sure that once you're dead, your expenses will be covered. So I don't know. Maybe people in Karur will think, okay, there's nothing to worry. If I die, my expenses will be taken care of by my MLA. And this is being publicized by people, and that is a sorry state of affairs. And some media, see, most of the media houses, they should be tried in judiciary, is what I feel, because this is being, lauded as a very forward-looking step by many people. Aha, Senthil Balaji, அற்புதமான செயல். So this is how bad the state of affairs are. Now, the government is trying to facilitate your journey to the grave by subsidizing it. Earlier, the government used to subsidize, health facilities. Now they understand. And in fact, online booking of crematoriums is happening. So you can anyways book your favorite date when you want to die, and probably go sit in your grave. That is how bad the situation is. And these people have been elected by the in the populace of Tamil Nadu, which is very pity. Basically, because in Karur, Mr. Senthil Balaji ensured that all the four constituencies that come under him are victorious. In fact, a guy, Danesh Muthukumar from ADMK, in a reserved constituency, was pipped to be the winner. But somehow, Mr. Senthil Balaji made it a point that, with the help of all the muscle and might that he has in Karur, they do not win. And it is going to be of no use to anybody. And he is a minister of power. Now, the problem is there are exorbitant bills coming again, like what happened in 2019 or way before that. Exorbitant bills are coming right now, and power cut has started in many places. So let us brace ourselves for, DMK's rule. That's what I can say.
See, so one of the things I've observed is the Kerala model of capturing the media is now also successfully done by Tamil Nadu, and to some extent even by Andhra. Andhra and Telangana also have the same problem. So see, this is the thing, the lies and untruths start there. People have time at home, they don't know what to do, they are hooked on these mega serials that never end, and news channels that never fail to give put out lies. So I'm hoping, viewers, if you find this program useful, do refer us to all your friends and family and relatives, because Karthik and I go through a fair amount of research to bring you those news items that are of relevance to you. So thank you very much, Karthik. You have anything else to add on Tamil Nadu, or shall we go to Kerala?
For now, I think that should do. We'll go on to Kerala.
Okay. Here we go. So, interesting things happening in Kerala. Pinarayi Vijayan just took oath as the chief minister again. And surprise, surprise, most of his previous cabinet has gone missing. He has got his son-in-law as PWD and tourism minister. The wife of the secretary, state secretary, also finds a post here. And many of the original people are all sidelined. And this is the clearest indications that there is going to be a dynastic succession in place. And his son-in-law was, I think, a party leader or something, a student leader or something like that. You can share us the detail, Mohammad Riaz. So there seems like the stables are being cleared for him to succeed should something unfortunate happen to Pinarayi Vijayan. What are your thoughts?
God forbid something should happen to him. But yes, things are being cleared. And the situation in Kerala is an interesting one. Basically because there have been important cabinet rank ministers who've been dropped. So communism talks about equality in all spheres, be it financial, be it gender equality. These people talk a lot about that. So out of the 21 ministers, there have only been 3 women ministers. Okay, so only 3 people have been given the chance, and an important member who had played a wonderful role both in the elections and during the COVID, Madam KK Shailaja, she's known as Teacher Shailaja. So she has been dropped. She was the health minister during the pandemic times. She was all out. Just like in Tamil Nadu, we had C. Vijay Bhaskar. This particular lady, she was all out. And the point is, although there were allegations by BJP against her, although there were questions, but her involvement cannot be questioned. Now, what has happened is she has been dropped. This has been done deliberately, is the allegation by BJP and the other parties. Even bring back Shailaja hashtag was famous. So people talk about Siddharth's tweet, people talk about other actors' tweet, but Parvati had talked about it. And Malavika Mohanan, she had also tweeted that bring back Shailaja. Why are you dropping her? Now, interesting parallels are drawn between Shailaja and Gauri Amma. Gauri Amma was again a CPI member. She was very famous. She was very, very famous. She was given all the position. 1 or 2 years she survived, and still the CM post eluded them. So, the entire party CPI is turning into a bastion of patriarchy. It's already there in the since you know about the communist world, where have women come forward and been leaders? So Pinarayi is making it a point that there is no questioning of his power. In fact, Mr. M.B. Rajesh, part of the, he won from Tritala, I had discussed about it, comes near Palakkad, so he wins from there. He says, don't get emotional about this. No, we don't want to take emotional decisions. It's all rational decisions. We don't, we want to give a chance to everybody. So we are dropping all the ministers. Dr. Thomas Isaac, who was the finance minister, was dropped. Sudhakaran, Professor Ravindran, all of them have been dropped to make way for a cabinet, which includes the CM. And the question was asked, why wasn't the CM dropped? So they say it's going to be a new team. It's going to be a young team. You need an experienced leader, and that is why we are keeping Pinarayi. So simply put, Pinarayi felt challenged by the work done by Miss KK Shailaja, and that's why, despite winning, despite winning with a margin of 60,000 votes, she was not given a chance to come back. So this is the state of affairs in Kerala. So they have sworn in outside the Raj Bhavan for the third time. 2016 was the second time. I think it was in 1996 they did, swearing in outside the Raj Bhavan. And then you had the entire Politburo. You had Sitaram Yechuri, because obviously this is the only state where they are surviving. And Sitaram Yechuri says that, this decision is completely rational. It follows the instructions given by the party's central command, and there is nothing to do with politics. But clearly, one can see its patriarchal mindset is being reflected, and people are being sidelined for being an effective performer, and the rules that apply to everybody does not apply to the CM of the state. And despite all this, Mr. Sridharan, despite losing, he has promised from his own funds, to get power to the people who do not have power. So, ultimately...
This is Palakkad, right? You're talking about Dr. E. Sridharan. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. E. Sridharan, despite losing out, he says he will fulfill his promise and get power to the people who do not have access to power.
Oh, so on one side, they'll try to disrupt even that. Even if the money hasn't been paid, they will do all that. Anyway, politics is the basest form of stuff. Anyway, so I'm sorry to cut you off. Please finish your thought. I want one more story on Kerala. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that is pretty much it. This we'll have to wait and watch as to how the new cabinet is going to function. But leaving out important ministers like this will not give anybody the motivation to keep working. So that's my thought on it. So we'll wait for him to deliver the goods. And Veena George, as you said, Veena George is being given a chance, and hopefully she will replace Madam KK Shailaja. They have a good, she has a good clout within the party because her husband, has a top position within the party, and all this is being done in order to give that extra edge to Pinarayi to stay on top of the game, just like Stalin did. I'm not talking about the Tamil Nadu Stalin. I'm talking about the USSR Stalin, who wanted no questioning of his power or challenge.
And one of the unfortunate things that happened from a death, this politics over death is so regrettable. There was one nurse helper who was working in Israel, and one Hamas rocket killed her. And then when the body comes back, well, as soon as the news came that she had been killed, everybody truthfully tweeted out, expressing their condolences. And they said that she was a victim of a Hamas terrorist bomb or a Hamas terrorist rocket. It was the correct tweet. Guess what? Within an hour, Pinarayi Vijayan's own tweet was withdrawn. And across the board, everybody dropped this thing the word called terrorist. And in some fact, somewhere even mischievous, they were trying to say that the Israelis killed this person. So you see, the point I'm trying to make here is Kerala is sitting on a tinderbox. the 2011 census numbers have not been released. Viewers, if somebody is going to tell me, no, we have the 2011 census numbers for India, please share it with me. I have my own doubts. But on the street, word on the street today is 1 in 3 Keralites is a Muslim. Nothing wrong with that. But here is the problem. If somebody who's just reporting the news is being asked to change it just because this person happens to be, killed by a Hamas rocket, how is that fair? And there are talks that Hamas's headquarters in India is Kerala. I don't know. I could be wrong about it. But many people have told me, look, Kerala is a laboratory for all terrorism experiments that take place in and around India. Even the Sri Lankan bombing, many people from here had done a lot of work. Karthik, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I had to, talk about this as well. Thanks for reminding me. Soumya, who is a nurse who dies because of the Hamas attack. And it was, I mean, she was on a video call with her husband just before that. And she was a nurse serving in Israel. I'm sorry, I got emotional there because what happened with her was a case of a terrorist attack, and they do not have the guts to say it's attack from the Palestine. Basically, because as you rightly pointed out, the Muslim vote bank is huge there. The Muslim decide which party is going to rule. So, who has the support of Muslims win in Kerala. But see, the moment the body comes, none of these people from the Kerala government go to check it out. None of them go to receive the body, despite it being a case of international terror attack happening on a Indian citizen who's gone there to serve the country. But look at the magnanimity of Israel. Israel names a fighter jet after her. If I'm not wrong, it's an F-16. Also, they give their support to the family, saying that whatever is needed for your family, we will do it. This is not India. This is another country giving guarantee to an Indian citizen. And what do these people do? People like NDTV, the TVs like NDTV, they say that it is an Israeli attack. The attack is in Israel. Okay, and they do not want to take the name of Hamas at all. So Israel takes so much of care for one single life of Indian, but here, despite losing so many lives, they do not care about what is going to happen to our people. And as you rightly pointed out, the power of the Islamic state out here is huge. That is why NIA was able to catch many people from Kerala who had links to ISIS. Many people from Kerala had gone to Afghanistan to be recruited in ISIS. Why? Because this, in many places, in many pockets, they are breeding grounds of terrorism. And the state happily neglects it just for the sake of vote bank.
And
so right now we have a heir apparent, Mr. Mohammad Riaz, as you rightly pointed out, PWD minister, and the entire cabinet is ready to defend him, saying that he has been already in different posts. He's just married 1 year before to Pinarayi's daughter, so it makes no sense. I don't care when he is married to Pinarayi's daughter, but dynastic politics is stepping into Kerala. There's no doubt about it.
And viewers, let's just take a quick look, sit back and take a quick look at how BJP fared in or is faring in the southern states or Dakshin Bharat. Karnataka, yes, they are in power. They are sort of comfortable. Goa, yes, they are in power. They are very, very razor thin majority there. In Puducherry, some interesting things are happening. We'll come to that in just a second. But in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, BJP still has a lot of work to do. It's very unfortunate that whether it is Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, whether it is Tamil Nadu or it is Tamil Nadu, they are always riding the coattails of the regional parties. And this, I think, Amit Shah realized it for Tamil Nadu. That's why he brought in Murugan. He kind of changed out a lot of the older people and brought in new. And there also, I don't know how much of an impact that is going to have, because if they want to do well in the next election, which is 2024 for Lok Sabha, the work begins today. And I can't emphasize enough. I don't know. Karthik, any idea what's happening with Annamalai and Murugan? What have they been active on social media, or how things?
Mr. Annamalai, I had the pleasure of conversing with him in a Twitter space recently. So he's basically licking his wounds and getting things ready for 2024. And in many places, he's outrightly said that we are ready to fight the battle out in the streets. because we know you're not going to listen to us. So you're not going to give us the right space. So we are going to fight out all the misinformation, all the fake news on the streets. We are ready to do it for the next 4 or 5 years. That was his opening statement after his loss to the DMK candidate. And after that, the lockdown is imposed, so basically people are not as active as you would want them to be. And I'm thinking that they are using this entire period to warm up, strategize, so that once the corona thing is over, they can go out and go out all guns blazing against DMK. Right now things are pretty lull, but it could be the calm before the storm. And similarly, Mr. L. Murugan has not been very active. In fact, he has demanded a few things from Stalin, like what about your promise of giving 1 crore to every frontline worker who loses his life in COVID pandemic? So those were the kind of questions asked. But I draw your attention to the Legislative Assembly, where 4 of the members have gone. So one member, Mr. Nayanar Nagendran, is a very eloquent person, and he's been given a chance recently to speak. So he establishes a good relationship with the speaker and with the others. He says, the new speaker, Mr. Appavu, and I come from the same state, although we from the same place near Kanyakumari. Although we are from different political dispensations, different political color, we want to work towards each other. And they are, so I see that all the exchange of niceties is basically to keep your options open in Tamil Nadu, because a lot of people say that the hatred towards DMK is inborn in terms of BJP's ideology. But I think they are keeping their options open for now, because there is no elections coming around the corner. So they will wait and watch for the next 3 to 4 months. And you must have also noticed that Mr. Stalin is not taking a very strong antagonistic stand against BJP like what he used to do when he was not in power, because he basically understands right now that nothing can be done without the patronage or support of the central government. So since things are lull from that side, and except a few motor mouths like Mr. PTR, BJP is right now waiting and watching. But in order to get a hold, I think the next 3 to 4 years are very important, where you have to do all the groundwork, where you have to, get the cadre and the party going. Things might get dirty next 6 months when the DMK will start blaming everything on the central government and say that all this is because of the 10 years of misgovernance of ADMK and BJP. We'll have to wait for the next 3 4 months and see what movement they are taking up. But right now, it's very, very dull and lull.
One of the things that the new team of Tamil Nadu has to do is to clear the cobwebs of misinformation that has been spread about RSS and about Modi himself. I've heard stories that that they said that Modi is using rockets to find out where your properties is, and he is going to come and confiscate them. Have you heard this thing? It sounded ridiculous.
Really, I mean, that's the news to me. But I've heard other rumors. I've heard other rumors which are baffling and it's very present. And I'm surprised that people buy it. It's like we have a helper at home. She was telling us that I just asked her a question: which party are you voting, Akka? And she was like, Modi. I'll not vote for Modi. And the reason she gave was, the moment Modi comes to power, all the churches will be shut and all the mosques will be shut. So that is why we don't want to give a chance to Modi. So these kind of fear mongering is what is going on here. And RSS is not able to come up with a strategy where it is able to show all the good work that it has done so far. It is having the same mindset that it carries in the north, where there is already inertia, where they already have an upper hand. But out here, they have to break the inertia of the Dravidian parties and then establish, for which they need a lot of star campaigners who are true RSS ideologues, not the false ones. So you can't bring in people like Radha Ravi, you can't bring in people like Kushbu, and you can't bring in people like Namita and change the mindset of the people. People scoff at you, laugh at you, and will write you off as a not serious organization. So there needs to be a change of strategy on that front also.
I think the first thing is they need to have something that is like a very professionally run media channel that can actually counter some of the nonsense that comes out in all these other channels. Anything in that direction, Karthik?
Nothing so far, unfortunately, nothing so far. There have been rumors about Republic Tamil coming to Chennai and all, but since I'm well connected with these media sources, nothing of that sort is being done by any party. What I say is, forget about BJP. There needs to be an initiative by good-minded people here to start a channel which gives you neutral things, truly neutral things. Because every channel that tries to be neutral here is purchased by the other parties. You see the kind of reporting that they have. When the deaths are so high here, when the infection rate is so high, when there is so much of chaos happening around, the discussion in Tamil Nadu media is what importance is given is to the pen of the chief minister. There is a history behind the pen of chief minister, and that is given a 30 minutes coverage. And the entire media bandwagon is supporting Udayanidhi Stalin, who has visited his constituency 3 days in a row. So what is special about a person visiting his constituency 3 days in a row? I'm saying, okay, it's a good thing. Okay, you're a young leader trying to establish things. But already they have decided that after Stalin, it is going to be Udayanidhi Stalin. So it's not just Kerala, it's also Tamil Nadu. Dynastic politics is going to ruin the entire political spectrum of South India. Something has to be done so soon. So at least a neutral channel which reports things, which holds meaningful discussions, needs to be in place in Tamil Nadu. And I see no movement in that direction, which is pathetic.
Yes, indeed. And
why don't you start one? Why don't you start one?
It's a very good idea, Karthik.
At least there's a weatherman.
It's a very good idea, Karthik. So let's see how things play out. God may have some interesting things in front ahead of me. So we'll see how it goes. I just want to bring our viewers' attention to what is happening in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Now, viewers, Sunil Diodhar, this name may have flashed on the TV screens for you some years ago, perhaps a year and a few months ago, as being the person who got BJP in power in, remember which state? He unseated them in CPI-M in Tripura. Victory for BJP was massive. I mean, it
was huge.
Huge win. So the person who worked on the ground for several years was this unassuming man, Sangi, called Sunil Diodhar. Guess where he is today? He is in Andhra Pradesh. So he is there trying to establish a ground game, because without the ground game, nothing happens. As far as the ground game is concerned, Kerala has a decent ground game. They do need a purging of the leadership, and they need to have young blood. They have luckily identified two good individuals in Tamil Nadu, which is Dr. L. Murugan and Annamalai, and they need to have that young blood again identified in Kerala. I hope something happens in that direction, and hopefully we can go there. So before we take questions, I just want to dwell a little bit on Puducherry and your thoughts on what is happening there as far as BJP is concerned, because BJP has now got some ministers in the cabinet there, isn't it? No?
It's a very important it's a very important development in Puducherry vis-a-vis the BJP's perspective. Out of the 33 seats, 30 seats are democratically elected, 3 are nominated. So BJP has made huge inroads. You won't believe that the propaganda here in Tamil Nadu was that BJP will not bloom. Lotus will not bloom in South India. So it's already a falsehood, because we have in Goa and Karnataka. So what they meant was Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, there was no chance. There was no way on earth that they could have their feet in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Tamil Nadu, they were able to manage 4 seats. In Puducherry, they were able to manage 6 seats, which is equivalent to what DMK was able to manage. So that is kind of a huge victory for that. And you should at this juncture thank the governor of Puducherry, who is coincidentally also the governor of Telangana, Madam Tamilisai Soundararajan, who was the first person to say, Tamarai Malarande Thirum, which means lotus will definitely bloom. And exactly in her tenure as the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, there are 6 seats. Now, the problem these people are creating, the DMK guys, and people who have no say whatsoever in Pondicherry politics, atheists like Tol Tirumavalavan and Veeramani, what they say is, why did you nominate 3 MLAs? I don't even know if they have any basic knowledge about the Constitution of India and the legal setup that Pondicherry was created for. So basically, there are 3 nominated MLAs apart from the 30, which takes the strength of BJP to 9 from 6. So 6 people have won. And then you have Mr. Ashok, Mr. Ramalingam, and Mr. Venkatesan, who moved from DMK to BJP. So these are the 3 nominated MLAs. Now, there was a huge hue and cry about people about BJP trying to make a backdoor entry by defeating NR Congress and putting their own people as the chief minister candidate, which is not going to happen. So BJP has made inroads. They have appointed 3 people, which is very much under their power because Government of Union Territories Act 1963, Part 2, Section 3, Clause 3 says that you can nominate 3 people, not more than 3 people, and they also have they also have voting power. So this is done and dusted. So it's 6 plus 3. Now the question is, will they backstab their alliance, that is the NR Congress, NR Rangasamy, and will they take the CM post? I'm telling you, they will not do it from the past history. They had their chance in Meghalaya, Goa, Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Karnataka, and Manipur. All these places, they made it a point that their alliance was winning. They didn't go for the CM post basically because it's not a one-person party. It's a huge party with a national presence. Goa, Congress had 17, they had 13. They moved fast. They sealed the alliance and got their person to. I mean, like got the person from their alliance to be the CM. They didn't go behind the CM post. Now the allegation leveled against BJP that they might have a backdoor entry is unfounded. I don't think they will do it. And in case if they do it, that will be the biggest political mistake by BJP. But I'm very sure they won't do it because in Karnataka in 2018, they got 105 seat. Congress and JDS together got around 112 seats. The Congress gave a lifetime of trouble to Kumarasamy for being the CM, and finally he had to quit. Those are not the things that BJP has done anywhere in any part of the country. So they might, push to get their alliance in power, but they are not going to backstab and, ditch their partners is what I feel. So Puducherry, the media is not highlighting basically because there is a complete radio silence by the media about Puducherry because it is a huge victory for the right-wing nationalists, that is the BJP party in South India. And if this trend is to follow, I'm very sure that 2024 and 2026 will be interesting for Tamil Nadu as well.
And just to give you a quick tally on the assembly strength, I think now there are 33 seats. NR Congress has 10, and BJP
10.
has 9, and DMK has 6. So 10, 9, 6 is 25. And the
4 independents.
4 independents, 29. What about the other 4?
No. So we have.
I think ADMK got a 0. I think ADMK got a 0.
They've got a 0.
Yes. So that's what is important. Let's put it that way. ADMK got a 0.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you why that is important. Because when BJP wins 4 seats in Tamil Nadu, everybody was telling that it is basically because of ADMK they won in South India. But that is not true. All the 4 people had their own strengths. Naina Nagendran has its own strengths. Probably Saraswati Madam was helped, but MK Gandhi was not helped. So when ADMK is not able to open its tally in Pondicherry, they are able to do individually well. So the risk is worth taking. So you have to go yourself and establish a mark and not depend on Dravidian parties, which is completely against your ideology.
Great. Now let's go to some questions. Aam Admi Topics wants to know, why should Isha Yoga not come under HR and CE?
Why would it come under HR and CE? Why would it come under HR and CE? See, it is not a temple. Isha Yoga is not a temple. It doesn't come under HR and CE. And you should understand that there have been temples which have been freed from HR and CE. So when you're trying to, take out this unmeaningful institution called HR and CE, which is very lopsided, which is a shame on the concept of secularism in India, which is actually making Hindus look like fools, thieves, and people with no acumen for temple management. Why should you add on more institutions to it? Under what aspect does Isha come under it? I don't understand. You should tell me. Probably you should tell me why Isha should be taken under HRNC. Any thoughts on that?
I think, see, this is all just extrapolation. Just because somebody is talking about God means immediately, oh, this institution should also be, brought under the anybody.
In that case, all of us in South India should be under HRNC because all of us believe and we have a puja room here. So probably everybody should be under HRNC. Huh?
Yeah. So this HRNC is seen as a resource for making up revenue shortfall by every state government, and including BJP run Uttarakhand, they did that. Although wiser council prevailed, they dropped the chief minister and they changed the chief minister, and now it is back to the original control. These things will happen because most states are not run well. I mean, think about it. You know, everybody wants to give subsidy, and then they want to buy your vote. All that money has to come from somewhere, and that's because they are actually, instead of working for 10,000 rupees worth work for you, they're giving you 2,000 and they are pocketing the remaining. I'm just giving some numbers. I could be wrong about the numbers, but the intent is very, very clear. That's what happens. And if they can control something that looks to be doing well, such as the Isha Foundation, then they can lay their hands on that money also. In my opinion, all these HR and CE officials should be banned, and they should be disbanded completely, sent home. God knows what they want to do with it. They don't belong in the temples. So people will say, how will you manage your temples? Well, they were being managed for thousands of years. The family still live there. In every temple, it is possible to come back, and there is a blueprint already in place, because I would like our viewers to closely follow what is going to happen about the case of freeing Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, the richest temple in India, in the court of Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Swamy and Satya Sabarwal are fighting that case. Follow that closely. Once that happens, and Hathiram Mutt should be the one that was the last one to cede control to the British in 1933, they should go back to them. In my opinion, I've done a lot of work and I've published a lot of articles in PGurus. Do read it if you want to know more about it. So shall we go to the next question, Karthik?
Sure.
Yeah. Raghuveer Pathasarthi wants to know, how do you think Sabarimala will be handled now?
Now, see, I think basically the person who's been appointed as the Devasam board will also be appointed as the Minister for SCs and STs, which is a welcome step, because in Hinduism we believe that there is no differentiation based on caste. All this is like deliberately thrusted upon us to create an image that is really bad. I am saying for a fact that CPI will not go back on its words. CPI will stick to the fact that they will, they will be against the Sabarimala case, despite, people like J. Sai Deepak working their hearts out to prove that, see, listen, this is not something to do with women empowerment. This has got to do with the deity. This has got to do with the customs. This has got to do with the belief system that goes with the temple. But CPI deliberately being the atheistic selective atheistic policies that the communists have, they will definitely not work for the rights of the Hindus. But in any case, I feel that if Sabarimala is being touched, it will be a national issue again, and the BJP should take that issue up very seriously and not count the losses that they have. They've done really well in many places. The margin has been really low. It's just because the Congress and the communists were able to join hands in defeating that, which is actually showing the fear that they have. So I feel that communists will not take up the cause of Sabarimala, the real cause of Sabarimala, and leave it the way it has to be. But they will try to bring in the same concept of women empowerment and so on and so forth, and all philosophies they don't stand for in their own cabinet, and try to create ruckus. But it is for the BJP and the right-minded people to oppose these people and work for the cause of Sabarimala temple.
I just wanted to add one little thought that came to my mind. There was a talk that M.R. Venkatesh gave, in which he said that in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, you have channels that just operate in one district, not even the whole state. It is so focused. And he was wondering loud, who has the money? How can you have a business model where the TV channel is only for one district? So there is a lot of motivated misinformation that is being spread. This is the most important thing that BJP needs to counter. My God, I mean, the amount of abuse that they are being subjected to is just out of the world. So go ahead.
I'll tell you something that happened right now. You must have heard of a site called as Unacademy. I know this because I was into a bit of mentoring this civil service aspirants. So this guy named Roman Saini, who runs a channel, it was basically a YouTube channel which they converted into a platform. Now they are huge, Unacademy. And the question in that is, there is a procession of one particular faith going, and Hindu throws stones on this. Is it an offense or not? This is the question that they have framed. So there was immediate backlash, and they rendered an unconditional apology. But what I'm saying is the liberty that these people take, in vandalizing our property, in demeaning the Hindu rituals, is unheard of. This happens in no country where majority uh, is one faith. Okay, but here this happens, and this is the trend. So this has to be stopped, and people have to start raising their voices. And thankfully, it is happening. I'm sure when you were here in India, you would have not experienced this kind of a rebuttal by people to come out in the streets and say, "Listen, this is my faith. Don't touch it anymore." But I think that is happening. It's a welcome change.
Yes, and see, in some ways, Tamil Nadu is called the land of Vedas, and for good reason. You see, the theism really flourished there. Just to 1 minute segue here. See, there are because this is going to lead up to the next question. So there are I think 16 Arvars and 63 Nayanars. And as far as I know, there is no other area where you've had this unbroken lineage of Shaivites. Shaivism has been flourishing. In fact, one of these the Adhinams today is headquartered in the United States in the state of Hawaii at a place called
Hawaii.
Kauai Island, and it is one of the most beautiful temples that I've ever seen. Shiva temple, and it's called Dakshinamurti because it is facing south, and it's a beautifully managed temple. The gurus in that particular Adhinam date back 2,500 years. The last two gurus, the current one and the one before him, they were both born in the United States. They were Christians who understood that there was something beyond this in Sanatana Dharma. They went back to India. They learnt under the existing gurus. And this Adhinam, by the way, spreads not only in in Tamil Nadu, but also in Sri Lanka. So there were gurus going back and forth, because the 2,000-year lineage is just too good in the sense that, there are so many Adhinams even today that you don't see the equivalents in other states in India. So my point in saying all these things is theism, theology, worship, is very fundamental to many people in Tamil Nadu. They may be DMK, they'll listen to all the abuse being praised, but then they'll go home and pray. Take a look at Durga Madam, right? She's one of the most staunchest devotees that I'm hearing about.
Not just Durga, madam. See, most of the ministers, if you take the cabinet consisting of 33 ministers, I'm betting it's more than half. It's definitely somewhere around 70% of them are believers. And I have contacts with acharyas and bhattars who do pujas for them. And trust me, when they say it, they say that they are very religious in following all the instructions. Okay, so now that they have understood that all this falsehood about one faith bashing cannot work no more, because there is this active social media which is exposing everything, they are trying to be themselves, and they are sidelining all these people. This anti-theism and this atheism and God bashing is all being sidelined by people, by the DMK themselves, because they understand it is not going to sell anymore. So don't be surprised if Mr. Modi and Mr. Stalin have a tea together and talk about freeing HRNC temples. It could happen.
It could happen.
Because after all, they only want power.
Yeah.
They don't care about temples anymore.
Yeah, so we are about 58 minutes into our hangout. We'll take a few more questions. I don't know how long you have time.
Sure.
Next question is from Swaminathan Ramesh Shashi. What are the odds that there might be ethnic cleansing of Tam Brahms in Tamil Nadu like the Kashmiri Pandits? And just before you answer the question, 1 second, Karthik, I want to share some numbers. In 1947, the percentage of Brahmins in Tamil Nadu was 3%. Today, it is less than 1%. So go ahead.
So that could be because of migration as well. I don't want any particular Hindu sect. I don't know what you call, be it caste or whatever you call it. I don't want that to diminish, because anyways Hinduism is diminishing. So I'll tell you an example where Barkadat was using the same phrase which is used for Brahmins in Tamil Nadu. I'm not a Brahmin, so you know it very well. But I believe that everybody has the right to be themselves and believe in whatever they believe. So Barkadat was telling, when she was covering the Kashmiri Pandits, that most of the top posts were occupied by Kashmiri Pandits, which caused, some dissatisfaction among the people within the valley. And that is why they were driven out. And the same is being used by the Dravidian ideology people in South India. They say that most of the top posts are being held by Brahmins, and that is why they have to be driven out. But I'll tell you something: times have changed. There is Hindu Renaissance. Obviously, it has not been consolidated enough to give us political gains. But anybody touching any particular sect of Hinduism or any particular social stratification of Hinduism will not be spared anymore. There is an army to take care of that. That will take care of it. There will not be ethnic cleansing. If there are attempts, it will mean that the cleansing of the ideology which attempts to do this.
And viewers, I mean, these are all facts, and you can verify them. Baba Saheb Ambedkar got his last name from his teacher, who was a Brahmin, and he said, if you go with your name, then you will be discriminated. I'm talking about the British era at that time. You will be discriminated, you will be suppressed. Use my name, you will get more success in life. And it was that he has acknowledged this many times. In fact, his last wife was a Brahmin too, Sarita, Dr. Sarita Ambedkar. I am not saying anything beyond this. What I'm trying to say is keep an open mind. You're going to have good people, you're going to have bad people in any, it doesn't matter where. But most important thing is don't hate someone for what they are. I'll give you another example. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He has said many times that it was because of his Brahmin teachers that he became what he became. So don't try to take one particular community and say, oh, my problems are because of them. Because first of all, numerically, they are not there. You see, they cannot be doing anything now that can affect anybody. So this is really sad. I'm just want to going on to the next question. You want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, see, I'll also tell you something. Why Brahmin bashing happens here? Because they are non-reciprocative. They do not take up arms. Try doing this with the intermediate caste, and they'll come to your doorsteps, kick your butt out. So just because they are not very strong in terms of muscle and numbers, they are being attacked. So that is the cowardice behind this kind of an attack. I think this should happen to no community. There are good and bad inside all the communities, especially when you start stereotyping this and when you start saying they are responsible for this. That is when the evil becomes that is when the evil comes out and causes hatred among people. So stop doing that. Look at people as people and evaluate them for their positives and negatives, and don't do this Hindu bashing anymore, because it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Also, don't equate Brahmins with religion, because there are, as far as I know, many of the 63 Myanmars were not Brahmins. And I
They were
can,
atheists, some of them.
yeah, and I can also tell you that there are other communities such as Velalars who are more religious than Brahmins. They see, the
Absolutely.
point I'm trying to make here is God is separate. Don't try to confuse that with somebody. This was all done by DMK to get to power. Fine, you've got your power now. At least now shed this thing. Do something good for the people. That's my hope. Sorry, you wanted to add
But the
something?
last time, yeah, the last time they got to power, they did all the Brahmin bashing, got to power. Whom did they appoint as Solicitor General? Whom do they appoint as public prosecutor? Whom do they go for legal help? You know, and so those are things that people should wonder about.
Okay, next question. Nitya Kalyani Alai. Can you throw some light on the citizenship details of PTR, his wife, and sons? Can he hold a minister's job? Well, we haven't been able to resolve Rahul Gandhi's self certified British citizenship, and you're talking about one state minister. Go ahead, sir.
No. I think you are right on the point, Bingo. There, see, we've not been able to break up the mystery behind Rahul Gandhi's citizenship. Is it really Rahul Vinci or it is Rahul Gandhi? We still don't know about it. But I think somewhere down the line, BJP has to take this very seriously, because see, right now you have these toolkit that has emerged. It's your people that have come out and revealed it. You take no stringent actions against it. I'm not sure what will be the fate of the National Herald case. I'm not sure what is happening with the 2G case. I'm not sure what is happening against all the allegations that you leveled against the opposition parties, but the political grit and the will to go all out is missing from BJP. So the matters of OCI, I mean, these are technical details. As long as you don't have access to the finest details about a person, you'll not be able to reveal about it. But then already things have started cooking up, and Mr. Raja, I'm not talking about A Raja, I'm talking about H Raja. H Raja today came out with a presser where he says that there's a lot of problems about this guy, so he has to rectify his way of speaking. Otherwise, we will get to the depths and we'll find out. So, what's her name, by the way, the person who posted the question?
Oh,
I
her
think
name
Nitya
is
Kalyani.
Nitya Kalyani Alai. Yeah.
Nitya Kalyani. So we will wait a few more days before touching that aspect, because I'm still not very convinced with the OCI part. But if
Uh,
it's the case, we will blow it up.
Raghava G wants to know, will Tamil Nadu gradually become Kerala with Islamist Christian atheist combo becoming unbeatable?
Well, the fear is not unfounded. The fear is there among a large section of the people. But you see, the innate nature of Tamil Nadu is different. We are a land of believers. It is a land of temples. Look at the emblem. So you might not be able to get a political benefit out of the Hindu community here, but the Hindus here, especially the ones who are not into the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe list, it is very difficult to change them in some parts. Having said that, down south there is a lot of proselytization that is happening. Having said that, in tribal areas there is a lot of proselytization that is happening. Christian missionaries have been into this for a long time, but after the FCRA Act, the level and the rigor to which this is happening has been reduced. So thanks to Amit Shah for bringing that bill, because most of it happens under the garb of offering a financial help to some person who's really struggling, and it has nothing to do with the religion. But they say that, see, listen, we'll give you financial help and we'll also give you all the needful at the same time. All you have to do is just convert. So this is being thwarted. So the situation is not just as bad as it is, but with DMK being DMK and being a supporter of Christian missionaries and proselytization activities, this danger could be real, but it's too early to say that.
Next question from HN. Do you sense that DMK is trying to focus on rebuilding their image in the Kongu belt by visits of Ma Subramaniam and for the next 2 days by MK Stalin?
I think there is no point in trying to consolidate their position in Congo Belt, which because it is not going to happen. It has been and it will be a ADMK stronghold. So they 10 out of 10 they lost in Congo Belt. Okay, so he has gone there, and in fact he opens up this vaccination drive for 18 plus people in Tirupur today, and then he tries to go and get a feeler of how things are in Kongu Mandalam. He goes to Salem, which is the home district of the erstwhile Chief Minister, Mr. Edapadi, the former Chief Minister. So I don't think it is a possibility that DMK will be able to consolidate in the Congo Belt, and I don't think they have to do it right now. I think he just wants to send a message that, listen, I don't care where it is DMK rule, and I'm coming to your place and opening up things. It could be just a political posturing, but I don't think they will be able to have the Congo built, at least any sooner.
Last two questions. SAS, DAS, BD. That's all I can tell because I can't pronounce this. Why not other Hindu gurus work on freeing temples and instilling Hindu values among kids and refuting birth based caste systems? Also, a larger system of refuting Aryan invasion theory should slowly be introduced.
See, the point is, Ambedkar had refuted Aryan invasion theory. Like you always said, there are a lot of aspects of Ambedkar which are selectively cherry picked and promoted here. They talk about Buddhism. They don't talk about why he didn't move out to other religions but stayed within the fold of the definition of Hindu, that Buddhism falls within that. So they don't talk about a lot of things. So for that, you need a media channel. And talking about the gurus, you see a lot of these gurus are also supporting DMK, despite all the slander that they've thrown on Hinduism, despite all the attacks on Hindu gods and all. They have been with DMK because they feel that they get some benefit out of it. They come and do pujas with them regularly. They come and give regular offerings. They might talk bad about you outside the temple, but when they are there with you, they do the needful. This is the kind of image that is there among some leaders. But again, see, it's not with the religious leaders, it is with the parenting technique as well. People have to uh, give that, instill that values of being a good dharma, being a good dharmic citizen right from childhood, which is missing. And too much of the cell phones and too much of violence and too much of left wing media is only getting into the minds of the people. So parenting technique needs to be revisited, and dharmic way of parenting where you teach the child not to hurt anybody and follow the path of dharma has to be taken up. But what we do is we take online courses from Western countries of how to parent, and that has different stages: 3 to 5, one parenting technique; 5 to 14, another parenting technique. All this holds good in Western cultural values, but out here it has to be different. And every single Hindu, not just a guru, every single Hindu should take up the cause of freeing the temples, because, as I said last time, it should not be an elitist movement. It should be a movement on the ground. Every flower seller in front of a temple, and that is why, see, what has happened is the HRNC is trying to reveal all these things, the property that they have, the income that they make, the movable, the immovable property. The HRNC minister has come out right now and said, we are going to make it public. Why are they doing it? Because they know for a fact that the next big movement that can be taken up by BJP is freeing temples. So they are trying to do their part, but they will not be able to do it because the last 50, 60, 70 years of rule, every EO, every joint commissioner, every commissioner has been hand in glove in degrading the Hindu properties. Everyone, when prosecuted, they will know that they will not be able to do anything. So we need to take up as a huge movement, and every single Hindu, not just the gurus, should take it up.
Last question, Anand CM. Tell about Cho Ramaswamy's journalism ethics and why we are missing that badly now.
Oh my God. That's a fanboy moment for me too. So he had the guts to call a spade. And he had the guts to say, if Modi was wrong, it's Modi is wrong. After Modi, there is a choice of Jayalalitha. I think if somebody can be the Prime Minister, he said Jayalalitha can be the Prime Minister. So he had the guts to say that. And he was well read. And he read real books, not the Dravidian ideology. And even at the peak of his, peak of this Dravidian movement, he had the guts to go out to the various open mics and speak. Not the closed mics these days these people have. It was open mic. There was no protection. There were attacks on him from the crowd. But despite all that, he was able to do that. So I think that, as I pointed out earlier, if you want people like Cho, I mean, they are rare gems. And when you get them, you need to identify them and protect them. But the ecosystem here, which is the anti-left, does not protect such people. So it is very difficult to get people like them. And certain other aspects of his ethics included being able to criticize the side which he thinks is right, which, like, I think I'm sure you are able to do. You have the freedom of doing from outside India, though.
Yes.
But still, he had the idea of doing it, and he was an artist at heart. He had this satire every time, so that even the common man could, laugh his heart out, get the good hormones, and then think, which is very much missing in the country because people are scared of everything. It's either fear of the ruling party or fear of the opposition party. So when you are able to take fear out of journalism, Article 19 becomes a reality and you get good journalists like Joe. But he is also a rarity. We need to acknowledge that.
Yes. So with that, we bring to an end today's program. Before we leave, I have one small request. Tomorrow we are going to be live with Professor R. Vaidyanathan, and I'm just going to play a quick teaser so that you can get an idea for what it's going to be. It has started now. It's about a minute. We're going to talk about, will quota kingdom collapse under its own weight? And Professor RV, in his own humorous style, is going to be looking at all these different quota systems. What is the real, what is it really worth on paper, and where it is being implemented, and why it is just nothing but hot air, but somehow people keep falling for it, and that has become like an effective vote gathering tool. So please do join us tomorrow for that. And as always, it's a pleasure having you, Karthik, and I hope to come back again with you next Thursday, as always at 9 p.m. IST. Thank you. Namaskaram, namaskar, namaskara, namaskaramu, and every other way of greeting. Thank you very much. Vanakkam.
Vanakkam, sir. It was a pleasure. See you soon. Bye.
See you soon.